Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, welcome to the show where we don't sing it, we bring it. Help us out and click subscribe to show your support. Make sure that if you are a YouTube user, click the bell to enable notifications so they let you know every single time a new episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast goes up. And make sure you swing over and join our Discord community. We are found on Discord. Look for the Pro Wrestling Podcast and check out www.tsj101sports.com, where Pro Wrestling Podcast is the official wrestling podcast of TSJ Sports. They cover all the major sports in the world, including professional wrestling. Check out TSJ Sports today. Fellas, are you sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video game? Stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. You can create a wrestler. You can sign contracts. Get involved in storylines, headline pay-per-views. You can even start your own corporation from the ground up, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users, totally free. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, want your name in the shoutouts like Mike and Lansdale, then check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Pro Wrestling Podcast. Sign up today. We have loyalty rewards. Any $15 a month contributor gets to co-host an episode of one of our live shows, and our $7.50 a month contributors get entered into a drawing to also host an episode with myself. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. We'll be taking questions, comments, anything you'd like to talk about through the Pro Wrestling Sound Off line at 267-642-1160. You can give us your questions, your comments, concerns, anything you want us to talk about. In addition, starting last week, we started taking special requests. Check out the Patreon page for our review of the Monday Night Raw from March 25th, 1996. If you have a special request you'd like to make, absolutely send us to us through any of our social media channels, and we will try to get to as many of those special requests as we can. If you want to support independent wrestling, make sure you go to ProWrestling.com, the homepage of the Pro Wrestling Podcast, and check out all the topics coming to the show, and click on the Indie Events tab at the top of the page so you too can support independent wrestling. I know you guys are diehard fans of the indie scene just like I am, and you can see some great action coming to an area near you without having to pay the price of WWE and get a much more personal and intimate experience with the wrestlers themselves. Check that out. Today, it has been an incredible week. We are coming to you remotely. We are not at home with our wonderful podcasting setup. Instead, we are remote. It is my wife's birthday. Happy birthday, honey. And today, we are going to give you guys an episode a little earlier in the day than normal, just so we can focus the rest of my day on my sweetheart. So, the world of wrestling has been a buzz all week. CM Punk and WWE are potentially reuniting for a project on Fox. There's conversation for months now about CM Punk's manager reaching out and talking to WWE or talking to Fox about possibly appearing on the Fox Sports 1 show. Then we heard WWE rebuff that comment, that it wasn't them, that there might have been something with Fox, but not with WWE. Now we hear this week that CM Punk was actually recording test material for the Fox Sports 1 show, and that potentially there's like a little bit of mending of the fences, so to speak, between WWE and CM Punk. There was actually a tweet put out by WWE yesterday saying that they feel like Punk wants to be back in, but at this time it's not something they're going to count on, which I can respect that. But when you look at Punk's behavior, you know that there was an offer made from All Elite Wrestling to join them for the All Out pay-per-view. He did not accept that. He did go to Starcast. And I think the most exciting thing coming out of Starcast was when referencing WWE, he seemed to be very much open to the potential of a future working relationship. Now, that being said, as it turns out, WWE and he may actually have that working relationship. And it looks like there's a chance that we'll get to see CM Punk become a member of the team on that Fox Sports 1 show. The show right now, as many people have heard, going to be hosted by Renee Young and Booker T. I think they're a solid group, but I think they really could use somebody who could bring a different angle on the experiences of the world of professional wrestling and the world of WWE. And I really hope, I know right now the plan is that this is going to be a behind the scenes backstage, that's the name of it, WWE Backstage, experience when it comes to WWE product. I hope with WWE experimenting with and flirting with the idea of bringing other companies, shows to the WWE network in a tiered system later this year or early next year, that maybe they expand this show just a little bit and talk about some of the smaller promotions that they work very closely with, like Evolve, like ICW, Progress, places like that, and even places that they have currently been negotiating with, like Chikara, based out of Philadelphia. Chikara, owned by Mike Quackenbush, who has been a guest trainer many times for WWE down at the Performance Center. So they're clearly looking at smaller independent companies. They even had a conversation with the NWA about potentially airing NWA content on the WWE network. So I know those conversations are taking place. And CM Punk, if you decided to have a situation where you talked about some of these other companies, he is a fantastic person to put into that role, because CM Punk really does know so much about the independent scene and some of these other companies, whereas WWE is focused on their business. That's what WWE is good at, their own business. I think maybe Triple H is maybe the most attuned of all the WWE executives to what's going on everywhere else in the world, but CM Punk would be an incredible asset. So we're going to have to keep our eyes on that. WWE doing a lot lately to really change the course of their company. Understand that they know that they're bringing in 2.2 to 2.3 million people per week for Raw, for SmackDown, that kind of stuff. But they really want to get back to the successful days of era gone by, back in the Attitude Era, where they were getting 4, 5, 6, sometimes even 7 million viewers a week. We're not there right now. And there's a reason for that. And you're not giving fans something that's compelling and interesting to watch. So bringing somebody like Punk back into the fold, even if it's just in a interviewer role, is still exciting to the wrestling fans and still something that they may be interested in. Now, would that parlay later into an on-screen active participant role? Perhaps, possibly. We'll have to wait and see. But if CM Punk is willing to come back for Fox Sports 1 and do it in a manner that contributes to WWE's success, I can't see him not at least considering coming back and wrestling for WWE. On the same token this week, it was very interesting. Ringside News reported that Stone Cold Steve Austin was very candid about the fact that he is in shape and could get back in the ring and have another match. He's healthy enough. He's fit enough. He stayed in shape. When he was at the Raw Super Show the other week, the people in the back were commenting to him about how much great shape he was in. And he made it clear. He thinks, even with the spinal stenosis in the neck and everything he's been through, he really does think he could work another match. And it was almost like one of those never say never situations where he kind of left the door open. And we've all wanted to see that. Let's be honest. People say, oh, he's past his prime. He's in his 50s. You all, if you are diehard fans, you've been watching things like Steve Austin's Broken Skull Challenge and things like that. And you've watched the most recent show, the straight up Steve Austin, and you can see the guy has a look. He doesn't look like he's in his mid 50s, whatever. He looks like he's still incredibly put together. I love seeing him take the bump from Becky Lynch a couple weeks ago on the episode that they aired with her. And I really think it's something where maybe after all the talk and getting in there with Becky, and if you saw like the debut episode, he got in there with Lance Archer and was wrestling around with Sal Vulcano from True TV. I think maybe he has just a little bit of an itch to see if he can make it go. The thing is, he's got such high standards. He doesn't want to compromise his standards to just go out and get a payday. But I think if you give him the right angle, the right opponent, and for the right purpose, I think he'd be open to doing it. Much in the same way Shawn Michaels was with Crown Jewel. Now, I think Shawn Michaels' match at Crown Jewel, I think it was better than many expected because he had been away so long, but it was not as good as other people expected because they wanted him to be the Shawn Michaels from 1995. And that just simply wasn't realistic. Same thing with Steve Austin. People are going to automatically assume that he's going to be Steve Austin who went against The Rock at WrestleMania. And that might be a lofty goal, but it's not something that I think is realistic. Now, coming back and having a quality match, absolutely. Having one that's the equivalent of 2000, probably not, but we'll have to wait and see. There's a lot of things that could happen between then and now to see who won, who he would go against. And I encourage you, if you're tuning into this podcast, put it in the comments. Tell me who you think Stone Cold should go against if he comes back for one match. And maybe, just maybe, the answer to that question is staring us in the face from the first two things we talked about on this show. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus CM Punk WrestleMania. Tell me in the comment section what you think about WWE making that match happen. In addition, coming back to WWE, John Morrison, apparently there's conflicting reports. It was announced earlier this week, multiple news outlets, Wrestling Inc. and Ringside News, talking about John Morrison returning to WWE, signing a new contract with WWE. He's been gone since 2011. Now he's talking about coming back. And then on Twitter, it was interesting because when they put up the article about him re-signing with WWE, he responded almost in jest, poking fun, and said, yeah, let me know when I sign with Ring of Honor or Impact Wrestling and all this, or AEW. Almost like he was debunking the story. But and then, you know, of course, right away, people responded to that saying, oh, well, he's obviously not coming back, because if he was, he wouldn't have put that tweet up there. But think about it. If you're John Morrison, are you really going to book him to go to Raw and defeat somebody like Seth Rollins right now? Probably not. Are you going to book him to go to SmackDown and face Brock Lesnar, who I think is going to walk out with the WWE Championship at the debut episode of Fox for SmackDown? Are you going to put John Morrison against Brock Lesnar? Probably not. But sometimes it's weird how these things work out. Would you be able to see John Morrison going to NXT and seeing him walk out as the new NXT World Champion against Adam Cole, who fractured his arm this week? Absolutely. I think John Morrison, if he was going to be going to NXT and they really wanted to pop the viewership, the episode that goes head to head with AEW, I think John Morrison is the perfect kind of guy to do that. There are others you would probably want to think about and consider for that role, but he is definitely somebody who brings brand name recognition and instant viewership. So I think that's something they may consider to do. I actually think if on Twitter at least, he was working the fans. I think he has re-signed with WWE, and I think it's long overdue. He's an incredible talent and really is a main event level talent. It's kind of surprising it's taken this long to get him back, but hopefully everything goes smooth for him. In addition to contract signings this week, Sasha-Banks has signed a contract extension. So for all those people who said, oh no, Sasha's going to work out the end of her contract and then she's going to bolt on WWE, signed a contract extension this week. It shows you that whatever ill will there was before, they've obviously moved past that. She's now champion. She's doing very well. She's in one of the highest profile feuds in the company, and she's doing a fantastic job. And I think Vince McMahon understands and appreciates how important her talent is and her contribution is to WWE. So congrats to Sasha-Banks on getting the new contract taken care of. Update on the status of Raw versus SmackDown. For the last 20-some years, Raw has always been the A show, SmackDown the B show, much in the way Nitro and Thunder were back in WCW days. There's clearly a front-running show and then a subordinate show. Well, things are about to change. If you haven't noticed, with all the broadcast team shifts, you're getting the 205 Live guys switching over to Raw. You're getting, Michael Cole and Corey Graves and Renee Young heading to SmackDown. It is very obvious that SmackDown is now going to be viewed as the number one show in the company. And I think USA Network is probably very frustrated with that, but because of the long-standing history with Raw on USA, wrestling fans have become very attuned to Monday nights. They're the ones who are going to tune in. The 2.5 or so, 2.5, 2.1, 2.5, somewhere in that range, million people who tune into Raw are not going to suddenly leave because SmackDown becomes the A show on a different network. They're still going to tune into Raw. We've become conditioned to watch Raw every single Monday. I think that's all of us. So I don't think Raw is going to take that big of a hit as far as the ratings are concerned, but they better be sure that they are much more creative on Raw than they used to be if SmackDown is going to be taking all the premier talent. And that could be the concern. I know that the Fox executives are upset because they wanted Bray Wyatt to go to SmackDown, and apparently WWE is reluctant to do that. They have him strategically positioned to potentially be Universal Champion coming out of Hell in a Cell. And I don't think WWE is even remotely considering moving Bray Wyatt. The word is that they have rejected Fox's request to have him on the show. But it does look like Brock Lesnar is going to be a focal point, and that's kind of in response to Ronda Rousey being injured. She almost severed her finger, and she's on the rehabilitation. She actually put up a tweet the other day with a video of her going through rehab for her hand and all that. She's not ready to go, so they needed something to pop the audience on SmackDown, and Brock Lesnar looks like that's their effort to do that. And I foresee see that they will have one of those rare World Championship title changes on a SmackDown episode that debut on Fox when you put that unstoppable beast, Brock Lesnar, in the ring with Kofi Kingston. Now, if they do pull a swerve there and they let Kingston defeat Brock, I want you to think about the magnitude of that victory. I saw people online this week complaining about Kofi Kingston acting like he's not a worthy champion. Kofi Kingston has gone against anybody and everybody you could think of in WWE. And he's looked well doing, and he's been received very well by the live audience in every one of those outings. Putting him against Brock Lesnar and having him pull off this incredible underdog victory is absolutely something Vince McMahon would consider. That's how they put the championship on Rey Mysterio in the past, and John Morrison winning the ECW championship, CM Punk winning the World Championship. These are smaller guys who WWE has put the confidence in to run with the big dogs. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. I just think when it comes to the ratings and setting the tone for what SmackDown's going to be, Brock Lesnar is a much better figurehead if you can get him to appear more frequently. And what I don't think I hear people talking about is in the last 8 months, Brock Lesnar has been very, very much more involved in WWE programming than he ever was the last 5 years. And if he's going to come to SmackDown and actually appear on a much more frequent basis, then absolutely, I have no problem with him being WWE champion and being the guy to end the streak or the run of Kofi Kingston. What's going on with 205 Live? That's another conversation. 205 Live at some point is probably going to be absolved or dissolved or whatever word you want to use into NXT. But for right now, they're going to move 205 Live to Friday nights, continuing to tape episodes after SmackDown. I think that's probably the short-term solution. Word is that there was talk backstage in WWE about getting rid of the show altogether, moving everybody to NXT, absolving them into the other two brands. I don't care what they do. What they need to do most is promote the brand more. 205 Live is like an extension of NXT to begin with. Some of the best workers with some of the best work rate, some of the most high-flying and incredible matches, and you don't get to see them unless you're on the network. And I know that sounds like, oh yeah, they're putting great programming on the WWE network, and they are, but you got to bring in an audience first, and 205 Live has just never had the support it needs. Drew Gulak right now, the Cruiserweight champion, is an incredible in-ring performer, and he can wrestle with any style there is out there, but there are people who don't even know who Drew Gulak is. And you have other talents that are on 205 Live that are getting completely wasted. Y'all know that. So I think 205 Live at some point needs to be either dissolved into NXT and just make NXT that much better, or they need to heavily promote it. But right now, looks like it's going to make at least a temporary switch to Friday nights and follow SmackDown as it has been on Tuesday nights so far. All Elite Wrestling in the news this week. The word is they're working on potentially offering a studio show, much like the Fox Sports 1 show in WWE's agreement. I don't know if this is in response to WWE doing the Fox Sports 1 show or if this is something they were planning all along. But I hope that, look, AEW needs more content, not less. They have a lot of young guys that people don't have as much familiarity with. And unlike WWE, they're not as controlled by the ratings. What I mean by that is they have zero audience right now because they've never been on television. So offering an opportunity for the diehard fans who are going to be following All Elite Wrestling to begin with to see more content is only a positive. And then what ends up happening is because you put it out there, people will become more and more familiar with the talents, put some of the best samples of the matches on that studio show and highlight reels, and get people to really become familiar with that young, up-and-coming, and less-known product, but realize how great the product actually is if you're not a diehard junkie like you and I are. I think it's a win-win. They're also talking about AEW Plus, which is a show that'll be coming to Fight TV. It'll allow people to log into Fight for $4.99 a month. And if you're overseas, see, AEW is going to have a following here in the United States, but overseas is where you got to continue to build the brand. And this will give people overseas an opportunity to see All Elite Wrestling programming for less than $5 a month, which is an incredible opportunity to really grow that brand. I really want AEW to do well. I'm not going to say I want WCW Monday Night Wars or any of that kind of stuff anymore, but I really want to see another incredible brand, and I think Cody, the Bucks, Omega, all those guys, as well as Tony Khan, are really doing a great job of trying to promote this brand, and I think if they do it properly, we might be able to see some really incredible stuff, and doing these types of innovations are a huge thing to help a new company get started, and hopefully it is a success. Congratulations goes out to Bandito. He won the Pro Wrestling Guerrilla Battle of Los Angeles tournament. That was last weekend. And then following it up, all these Ring of Honor guys doing so incredible. Dragon Lee wins the Ring of Honor World Championship. I apologize. Bandito was over. So Dragon Lee and Rush won the Ring of Honor World Championship. I get them all mixed up because I got so much to talk about. Rush wins the Ring of Honor World Championship, defeats Matt-Taven. The rumor is this is because Matt-Taven's contract is up and he'll be leaving Ring of Honor to go to All Elite Wrestling. That's the rumor. He has not said that. He said his next hand he's going to play close to the chest, and everybody will find out when he's ready for them to find out. But Rush taking the Ring of Honor World Championship is huge. In addition, Rush and Dragon Lee both wrestled for CMLL in Mexico. That is the rival promotion of AAA. See, I had Dragon Lee on the mind because I can't believe AAA released him. They released Dragon Lee and Rush from their CMLL contracts because of appearing at that Battle of Los Angeles tournament. The reason they're frustrated and the reason they're releasing them is because CMLL and AAA have always had like this bitter rivalry in Mexico, like WWE, WCW kind of rivalry, and they did not want CMLL contracted talent appearing on any shows with AAA talent, and that's exactly what happened here. You had Pentagon and Phoenix both at the show, and then you also had Dragon Lee, and that's a problem for CMLL. So they released them. So now technically they're free agents. If I was WWE, I'd swoop right in. I'd be jumping all over Dragon Lee. Now, Rush signed to Ring of Honor. Dragon Lee, I don't know what his contract status is elsewhere, but if he's a free agent, I'd jump all over him. He's absolutely incredible. I suspect he has a contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling. He is a focal point of their light heavyweight division, but hopefully this is an opportunity for Dragon Lee, and CMLL may have just given away probably two of their best stars in their company right now. Young, fast, quick, vibrant wrestlers, incredible movesets and all that. What a loss for CMLL and what a gain for somebody who decides to sign them. Everybody at this point is aware Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair are coming to Raw for the season premiere, and I'm going to tell you, I'm actually upset about this. I'm getting really tired of WWE bringing back old guys to get a ratings pop for one show and then not doing enough on every other show. Look, I love Hulk Hogan and I love Ric Flair and I love seeing them in the ring and I'm thrilled they're going to be there, but they shouldn't be a part of the major attraction of your promotion. Stone Cold coming back for the Raw get-together, the Raw reunion the other week. That's great, but that should not be the focus of your program. Your focus of your program should be on putting on compelling storylines, showcasing your talent, and letting people see the talents that really build your company 365 days a year, not the people you bring in for 1, 2, 3 days a year just to get one cheap ratings pop. That's not cool anymore. Hulk Hogan, mid-60s. Clearly, WWE doesn't trust to ever put him in the ring again, so don't promote this so much. Ric Flair clearly not going back in the ring ever again. After his health scares, that's over. So they're tertiary characters you keep on the peripheral. You got to focus on your main stars. I actually did not like the whole DX coming in with Seth Rollins thing. I thought that was terrible. I liked it in the moment because I'm a huge Seth Rollins fan, but in retrospect, it took away from the opportunity for Seth Rollins to shine by himself. And AJ Styles to shine by themselves back on that episode. And this is another situation where I don't know what they're going to have Hogan and Flair do. But whatever it is, it's going to be in some way taking away from a current star. And I'm never a fan of that. I know Goldberg is returning to WWE TV very soon. There was an issue with him and Dolph Ziggler filming a little piece out at a bar. And there was a little confrontation. And they want to build on that and possibly bring him back for another match with Ziggler. It's just a waste. If you want to bring Goldberg back, I'm cool with that. I think he can really do well in the ring still. But don't put him against freaking Dolph Ziggler. Are you serious? Put him in there with somebody who makes sense. Bobby Lashley, Braun Strowman, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. Somebody who's a premier opponent worthy of the return of Goldberg. If you want to put Dolph Ziggler in there with somebody, and I'm not crapping on Shawn Michaels, but put him in with Shawn Michaels just because so many comparisons have been made throughout the years. Shawn Michaels doesn't want to come back, pay the guy. I'm sorry, I don't care how born-again Christian he is. He will come for the money if you pay him enough. Because he's going to be, if you make an offer that's just stupid money, you give fans a dream match and you get a huge pop in ratings that people really want to see. Let's face it. After Shawn Michaels eats a super kick from Dolph Ziggler in August, people were abuzz about Shawn Michaels and Dolph Ziggler. How WWE doesn't capitalize on that and bite the bullet when you're signing $100 billion deals and everything else, do it. Make Shawn Michaels a focal point of one program with Dolph Ziggler so people get what they want to see and have one match and be done with it. Another guy returning to WWE programming very soon, Sin Cara. He's been gone forever. Let's be honest, if Sin Cara never came back another day again, would anybody miss him? And I'm not dumping on Sin Cara, but WWE, ever since the original Sin Cara left, has really done nothing with the character. Nothing whatsoever. They did, the Lucha Brothers for a little while? Are you going to bring them back and put them in Lucha House Party so they're 4 men instead of 3? Are you going to put them with Lucha House Party and have the 4 of them take on the Undisputed Era on NXT? I'd actually be okay with that, by the way. Just saying. But there's no excitement for Sin Cara coming back. There's more excitement for Elias coming back, who's been out with an ankle injury, who apparently is set up for his feud with Chad Gable when he does get back in the ring. But he needs to get back to television. Elias is somebody who has been completely underused. I've said it before. He looks like the Macho Man Randy Savage's buzzsaw in Spider-Man, the old Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie. He needs to be somebody who's featured more. He's got an incredible look, a unique character, kind of like a really tough and buff honky-tonk man, and instead always put into these comedic roles and job into people, and I hate it. He's somebody who deserves to be a focal point of the program. Special congrats go out to Rusev. He became a United States citizen this week. And let's be honest, him returning to Raw was cool enough just because he's coming back, but he looks incredible. He looks fantastic, and he's somebody, again, who originally was built up to be unstoppable and who was incredible, and WWE has just dropped the ball completely on using him in the last several years, pretty much going back to before the League of Nations nonsense. So hopefully he gets something more substantial this run, and hopefully WWE finds a way to keep him happy. I know there was always conversation that he was thinking about leaving the company. Now maybe they've quelled that and they're going to give him another push, so maybe he wants to stay and be happy. We'll have to wait and see. But at least what an awesome moment to see the pictures on Twitter of him becoming a U.S. citizen. Congrats to him and to Lana. The couple is adorable, and this is such a huge thing for them. Hulk Hogan, we talked about him earlier coming to Raw, but he's also being advertised with The Undertaker as being set for the WWE Crown Jewel show over in Saudi Arabia. WWE making the return to the kingdom, and these are the 2 names that are on the marquees in that region. So there's regionalized promotion, and in Saudi Arabia, if you were going to find out who's going to be at Crown Jewel, those are the 2 names that they're putting on the show so far, Hulk Hogan and The Undertaker. Now, that doesn't mean they're expecting Hogan to wrestle. I don't think he'll ever wrestle again, but he easily will definitely be there, him with that bandana with the sewn-in fake hair, because he's literally almost completely bald now. He'll be there. The Undertaker will probably wrestle a match of some sort, at least make an appearance, maybe chokeslam somebody and leave. I don't know. We'll see. But at least you could realize that this is definitely an event that's going to happen. Rumor has it may take place on Halloween, which I find to be very strange, but definitely something to keep our eyes on to see who else they add to that show. I'm sure they'll do something that they try to make special and unique. Not sure what that'll be. I thought they messed it up this year with the Battle Royal. They should have left it as the greatest Royal Rumble. 50-man Royal Rumble was actually pretty cool and got the opportunity to bring in some really unique and unknown talents that we got to get a little sampling of. But then again, Mansoor won the Battle Royal this past year, and he's god-awful. They haven't done anything with him. So hopefully they actually make something out of this next offering and make it worthwhile. Lisa Marie Verone, also known as Victoria in WWE or Tara in Impact Wrestling, has retired from professional wrestling. She won a championship this past weekend. Her last match, she had a great match with Melina, and she goes out on top as a women's champion. Look, she still looks the same as she did 20 years ago. She's an incredible in-ring talent. Congrats to her. Kudos on an incredible in-ring career. I hope she does something within the business, whether it's a backstage role or recruiting or training or something, because she's just too good not to be involved in the business. But in the end, congratulations to her on an incredible career. Speaking of the women's wrestlers, also at Ring of Honor's show last night, Angelina Love winning the Women of Honor Championship. And there's huge significance to me for this, because Angelina Love is someone who was in the WWE system, was released, went to Impact Wrestling, and became debatably one of, if not the most influential groups in women's wrestling when she was with Velvet Sky as the Beautiful People. Takes some time off, and now comes back to Women of Honor, where the women were not as featured as you would hope for being a part of the big part of the company. And now she brings some legitimacy to Women of Honor, and it's a crowning moment for her. You know, WWE was never, it seemed like ever since they went to Impact Wrestling, the Beautiful People never really gave either one of them consideration to come to the company, which they probably should have. And now You're in a great company that showcases incredible talent, and now you put the championship on someone who has such great brand name recognition. Congrats to Angelina Love, but more importantly, congrats to the Women of Honor, because their whole division just got a boost with her winning the championship. No offense to the previous champions, but she is a mainstream name for wrestling fans, and that is where the legitimacy comes from. Word of the streets this week is WWE's talking about bringing back lasers and pyro and all that stuff for Raw and SmackDown. Long overdue. I don't care what the budget was for it. That was the claim, is the budget for pyro was too high, so they got rid of it. That's about as stupid as anything I've ever heard of. You know what I'm saying? If you want to draw in the most fans, you got to put on the best production value and the most exciting experience. And that includes the pyro. So you spend a few $1 million every year on pyro. That's why you landed the $1 billion deals with Fox and with the Saudi Arabian prince. You do things that make the show attractive to everyone, including that pyro. Long overdue bringing that back. The Revival has issues with their contract. WWE has extended Scott Dawson's contract by 10 weeks because of when he hurt his arm like 2 years ago in 2016, 3 years ago, 2016. And this is just getting ugly. The Revival have not signed their new contract offers. They were offered $500,000 a year for 5 years, $2.5 million, and turned it down. Yet they're still featured in a prominent role with Randy Orton and what they're doing as tag team champions. I think WWE may be mistakenly trusting that they'll get a deal done at some point, but All Elite Wrestling, is just waiting in the wings, thinking that they're going to get a shot at signing the Revival and putting that Revival versus Young Bucks match into play. And I just don't see it happening right now. I think WWE at some point, as the contracts get closer and closer to expiring next April and then the following May for Scott Dawson, I think WWE, as it gets closer, will realize the importance of the situation. And if All Elite Wrestling is doing even remotely well, they're not going to want to let anybody get away. And those $500,000 offers may jump up to $1 million. And then it'll be a lot harder for them to turn down. So we'll have to keep our eyes on the Revival's contract situation. Speaking of changing vibes, Edge is leaving the podcast of Awesomeness. The responsibilities of his wife working on NXT, Beth Phoenix, as an announcer, has made it so travel is complicated for him, especially with the children they have. So Edge said it's something he's not going to be able to continue to do. So he's walking away from the show. Not sure if Christian's going to keep the show going or not, but it's almost sad. It's like the end of an era with the two of them. Always been together, running on the road, best friends in real life, and they've got to spend a great portion of their wrestling careers together. And I just hope that Edge finds a way to continue to contribute to the business, because he is absolute must-see TV every time he's on. So, but we wish him well and supporting his wife's dream to continue contributing to the business. That's awesome. R-Truth, look, I just got to say this. I had no problem with Carmella winning the 24/7 championship. I actually hope they pass it around a little bit to the ladies for a while, just to keep it away from R-Truth. But before that, man, talk about racking up the championships. He's at, 19 24/7 championships? And he's one of the oldest WWE champions of all time. It's good stuff. At some point, I'm sure he'll get the belt back, but I don't want it to be too comical. They've done so many of these schmaz, win for 30 seconds, lose, win for 30 seconds, lose. That's just dumb. At some point, stop that. How stupid does somebody have to be to think that, a sportscaster on ESPN is going to challenge them for their championship, or the mayor of Knox County, whether he was a former wrestler or not, is going to win the championship for 10 minutes. It just seems a little ridiculous when you think about it. So hopefully they find a better plan for the 24/7 championship, but I'm okay with it being on Carmella for now. But I think R-Truth, you're looking at 20 championships in a 4-month period if he wins the title back in any time in the near future. We'll have to wait and see how that rolls out. Impact Wrestling's October 1st debut on Access TV. I think that's perfect because it's going to fill the void on Tuesday nights being left by SmackDown. Smart planning by Ed Nordholm and the entire Impact Wrestling team. Anthem is doing a great job of trying to bring that content back to life, and they should, because they've been putting on some incredible shows. Their content is actually going to remain on the Pursuit channel as well, at least in the near foreseeable future, but in a more of a supportive role. It's not going to be where they count on to get their ratings. They're going to be looking at Access for that, and I think this is a great situation for Impact Wrestling, maybe opening the doors to more partnerships with people like New Japan, Women of Wrestling, because they have, let's face it, the Women of Wrestling champion is their women's champion, or is one of their top draws for their women's division, their knockouts division, in Tessa Blanchard. The New Japan Pro Wrestling has sent talent to Impact Wrestling for several times over the years. This offers an opportunity to cross-brand, especially if the Ring of Honor New Japan relationship is not quite as strong as it used to be. Might be an opportunity now with them controlling Access Television to really get in well with New Japan and foster that relationship. Some of the weird news of the week. One, well wishes out to superstar Billy Graham. Suffered a heart attack. Was hospitalized at the Mayo Clinic down in Texas. We wish him nothing but good health. He's dealing with congestive heart failure. And, let's face it, the guy made a monstrous contribution to the wrestling world. And we wish him nothing but good health and to get well soon. I know at times people consider him to be a very polarizing guy because he can say some controversial stuff on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. But there's a lot of those aging veterans that, don't like what is going on now because it's not the way things were done when they were younger. I know he was very critical of Kofi Kingston winning the WWE Championship, and that's because he's basing it on what he was used to when he wrestled. The big muscle guys were world champion. People like Kofi were not. I mean, that's just the way it was back in the day. And I think sometimes his bitterness about things like that have led to people not being as big of fans as they used to be for the superstar. But in the end, his contribution to the sport is undeniable, and we wish him nothing but a speedy recovery. And continuing with the weird stuff, Sting and Robocop. Yes, I said that. Sting and Robocop. If you don't know, back at Capital Combat 1990, Sting and Robocop made an appearance on a WCW pay-per-view. This is when Sting was recovering from his torn knee ligaments. He was supposed to wrestle Ric Flair for the World Championship. He ended up blowing out his knee down in Texas at Corpus Christi at Clash of Champions 10. Couldn't make his appearance. Lex Luger stepped in, was facing Ric Flair, and it led to this huge cage match at Capital Combat. And Sting is walking to the ring, and the Horsemen come out, and they're going to confront Sting. And at the time, RoboCop was a huge movie in the world, and so they had RoboCop walk out. Sting got shoved into a cage. RoboCop rips the cage apart, pulls Sting out, and they confront the Horsemen. So now, fast forward all these years, and we're going to see Sting and RoboCop at Starcast 4 ahead of the next AEW pay-per-view. I find that incredibly weird. I'm just saying. And I want to know who's going to be inside the RoboCop costume, because I can't imagine it'd still be the actor that played him, because he's got to be in his 60s by now. But really strange news. And capping off this strange news, our last topic of the day, Jose Canseco making his debut for wrestling for World Class Revolution. This company has been known to say and do some really weird stuff over the years, but this is one of the weirdest things. Look, Jose Canseco, I will give him this. I don't care as much about his steroid accusations from when he was a baseball player. He was a Hall of Fame level baseball player, never got into the Hall for whatever reason. That's fine. Still plays independent league ball, even at his advanced age, and still, much like Stone Cold Steve Austin, he is buff. He looks great for his age, and if he wants to get in the ring and mix it up, more power to him. The only problem is, the last time that this company promoted some weird attraction, it just didn't come to fruition. So we're hoping that this actually happens. Wishing him well, hope it goes well. It's a special attraction thing. If he does well in this debut, maybe some other promotion brings him in for like one of those celebrity fights. Maybe you can get him to Impact Wrestling to go against Ken Shamrock. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. That's all the time we have for this episode. Make sure you tune in next episode. We'll check out all the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks, as always, goes out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com. They produce any sound and music we use in our shows. Today's podcast sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this game from Beazle Games by going to frowrestling.com and clicking the link in the middle of the page. And to alleyrepair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing of all your classic skee-ball, pinball, and arcade game needs. If you're looking for your next career move, you're considering college, university life, or maybe you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our sister website at frolifeplanning.com and check out that website for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro. I want to thank you for taking a few moments with us today. And if you're looking for more wrestling news and rumors, go to www.tsj101sports.com for the latest articles on the world of professional wrestling. For now, that's all we got for you. We'll see you next time. Take care, everybody, and have a great night.